Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy, and welcome to the third annual BCG Disney Week, an entire week dedicated to all things Disney, from movies to TV shows to special topic videos. And to kickstart this year's Disney Week, I thought we could discuss something that's very relevant to Disney in 2016. Remakes. Yes, it seems like the House of Mouse isn't just interested in buying other intellectual properties, but also rehashing some of its own. And after the huge success of The Jungle Book, it looks as though this trend won't be ending anytime soon. So heck, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. If Disney's gonna keep on shooting out remake after remake, then allow me to give you some good suggestions as I count down the top 10 Disney films that should be remade. But first, some honorable mentions. Inspector Gadget. Bedtime Stories, The Country Bears, and The Aristocats. And without further ado, let's get to the list. Slicing its way to the number 10 spot is The Sword in the Stone. Look here, Disney, medieval tales have been making a huge comeback recently, so remaking the story of a young King Arthur, palling it up with Merlin, and going off on adventures, it just seems like a really good choice. Not to mention, with the new technology at your disposal, it can make for some really thrilling visuals and action. That's all I really have to say. Moving on. Traveling to the world of tomorrow is my number 9 choice, Tomorrowland. Yeah, I know what you're all typing in the comments right now. Oh, excuse me, Tony. This film came out way too recently to be remade. You need to give it a couple more years, man. But come on now. I think we all can agree that this film was a huge letdown and a massive train wreck that should not have been a train wreck, especially with the talent that was involved. And plus, if Sony can get away with remaking Spider-Man not once, but twice, and then the second reboot happens less than 3 years after the other reboot, I think Disney can go ahead and greenlight the Tomorrowland reboot right now. All you have to do, Disney, is hire a competent sci-fi or action director, Christopher McQuarrie maybe, drop the environmental message subplot, and most importantly, have the film take place in Tomorrowland. I mean, come on, Disney, that's a no-brainer. Do all these things, and you just might have the next Pirates of the Caribbean on your hands. Galloping into the number 8 spot is The Lone Ranger. Just like Tomorrowland, this film had lots of potential to be great. After all, it's from the same team that brought us the Pirates of the Caribbean films, but they blew it with their clunky and cluttered story, ridiculously long runtime, and way too much of Johnny Depp being weird. Heck, Tonto's Wacky Adventure would be a far more suitable title for this film than The Lone Ranger, who does absolutely nothing. So here's what you do, Disney. Hire a writer with the talent for writing adventure or western stories, keep the film's runtime down to a reasonable length, about 90 or 100 minutes, and put the focus back on The Lone Ranger. Also, maybe cool it down with the special effects. Shell out a couple bucks for some real sets. People want to see realistic sets, especially if it's going to take place in the West. We don't want these overblown CGI fests. You're not making a Transformers movie after all, so be reasonable. Leaping to new heights at the number 7 spot is John Carter. I guess we're 3 for 3 here. Yet another film with loads of potential, but crashed and burned before even taking off. I mean, it's a space epic about a guy that's sent to Mars and becomes an awesome warrior. Basically, Gladiator in space. I mean, come on, that film writes itself. So for this particular remake, Disney, I propose that we start by hiring an experienced live-action director. I'm sorry, Andrew Stanton. I love you, buddy. You're a national treasure. But you're just not cut out for live action directing. You should stick with animation. You're great at that. Next, try for real sets and people. No CGI overload. Come on, I know you have the money. You made $6 billion this year. $6 billion. You could shell out a couple more. And the rest should sell itself. As I mentioned earlier, it's Gladiator in space. Who doesn't want to see that? Traversing the wild frontier is my number 6 choice, Davy Crockett. You guys remember Davy Crockett? Yeah, that's what I thought. Nobody in my generation knows who Davy Crockett is, in movies and probably in real life. Which presents you with the perfect opportunity to reintroduce this forgotten legend to the mainstream audience. Anyone who's ever heard about Davy Crockett knows just how awesome this guy was in real life. He was a woodsman, a hunter, a warrior. He fought in the Alamo for Goofy's sake. So, here's what I propose. You can either make a Western style film or an Uncharted-like film with Davy Crockett. I mean, he's basically like Indiana Jones and Nathan Drake. I'd watch that. I would definitely love to watch the adventures of Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. Anybody remember that song? And now it's time for a quick fan art break. Spot is the Haunted Mansion. This ill-fated film was a victim of poor marketing and terrible execution / decision making. I mean, seriously, what numbskull thought it was a great idea to take something called the Haunted Mansion and turn it into a wacky family comedy starring Eddie Murphy? I'll tell you who. Morons! You know why the Pirates of the Caribbean film worked so well? Do you know why people fell in love with it and watched it over and over and over again? That's because the team behind that film took a fun, simple amusement park ride and made a serious and thrilling film with it. They took it seriously and they didn't belittle their audience. And that's exactly what the Haunted Mansion needs to do. They need to take it seriously and make a thrilling horror film for families. Yeah, I know it's not very common to see a lot of horror films geared towards families that don't turn into wacky comedies, but I think it's possible, and Disney can most certainly take the risk. They've done it before. Solving the case at the number 4 spot is The Great Mouse Detective. Now, this is one of 2 films on this list where I thoroughly enjoyed the original film. But unfortunately, most people don't remember this great film. And if ever there was a purpose for remakes to exist in this world, it's to revitalize dead stories for the modern audience. And The Great Mouse Detective is in desperate need of resuscitation. It would be such a delight to see Basil of Baker Street and the gang back on the big screen, solving new mysteries, going on new adventures. That's the main reason why I would love to see them remake this film. Or heck, you don't even need to make a film. Why not make a TV series? That would make much more sense. Just give me something, Disney. Not that! Putting a spell on you at the number 3 spot is The Sorcerers Apprentice. Okay, let's see what we got here. Interesting premise? Check. Potential for greatness? Check. Ruined by silly execution. Oh, that is a big check. But to be fair to the film, although it does have some coolish scenes, it was just completely bogged down by the overall goofiness of the film. And most of that was attributed to Nicolas Cage. Okay, here's what you gotta do, Disney. You ready? Drop everything except for the core concept. That means no modern day setting, no pointless love interest, no bland and forgettable lead, no overtly goofy moments except for the mop scene, you can keep that, and absolutely no Nick Cage. I cannot believe I just said that. Make sure it takes place in a medieval setting, all the rage at the moment, and just have it be a young wizard in training or a young mage in training that hangs out with his master and they go on adventures. Kind of similar to the Sword and the Stone kind of pitch I gave you earlier. Now that's a recipe for greatness. Mwah! Why did I do that? That just seems so random. You know what? Just let's go to number 2. Diving to the depths at number 2 is Atlantis, the Lost Empire. Now this is the other film on the list that I thoroughly enjoyed watching. It's truly a hidden gem of a film that had so much to offer, yet completely bombed at the box office because nobody saw it, and now nobody remembers it. But dang it, I still remember it, and I personally think that this film deserves a second chance to make an impression. So here's what you do, Disney. Take all the qualities that made the original so great, fix all the weak spots, primarily the cliche villains. In fact, just remove the whole need for villains. You don't need villains in this story. Just make it about the city of Atlantis and explore Atlantis, the people, its culture, and I promise you, you're gonna have yourself a surefire hit. Also, I'd be totally down with making the remake live action, as I feel it would be a much grander spectacle to witness than if it was animated. I mean, think about it. The landscapes, the ships, the water, the guns. It just feels more epic that way. And now here we are at the #1 spot. And which film takes the cake? What Disney film would I like to see Disney remake the most? Well, that film is The Black Cauldron. Now, I know that this might be a hard sell considering that this film came out at one of the worst times for Disney, a literal dark age. And it is widely considered to be one of, if not the worst Disney animated film ever made. So I think Disney kind of just treats the film like the plague and just never acknowledges it. But, in my opinion, out of all the films I mentioned on this list, I feel as though Black Cauldron has the best potential to be something great. In a day and age where more and more people are levitating towards darker, more complex storytelling, and films like Lord of the Rings and TV series like Game of Thrones have made the fantasy genre more popular than ever and thus more profitable than ever, Disney has themselves a golden opportunity to not only introduce audiences to a new fantasy world and to tell more complex stories with a bit more darker themes, kind of in line with the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but heck, they can even reach a new audience. They've been trying to reach teens for years, and teens love this kind of films. They like these kinds of stories. So hey, Disney, this is a golden opportunity to reach those teens that you've always wanted. Let's go ahead and greenlight the Black Cauldron, why don't we? You can attempt to challenge yourself by not only telling an unconventional fantasy story with the Black Cauldron, but also an unconventional Disney story. That's two birds, Disney. Two birds, one film. And with the advanced technology at your fingertips, the endless amount of cash that you have, and the huge pool of talent at your disposal, you have no excuse not to remake this film. Forget The Lion King, forget Mulan, forget all those other films. Make the Black Cauldron before time runs out. You only have a small window to make it. And there you go, Disney. 10 films you should definitely remake. No need to thank me with words. You're filthy rich, so send me some money, man. I did like 50% of your work right there. If you push forward on any of these proposals, I expect a check in the mail and maybe even a cameo. I mean, come on, I helped you out, guys. You could at least give me a cameo. Just the small things, man. That's not asking too much. But anyway, guys, I would love to know what you guys thought about my list. Did you agree with it? Did you disagree with it? Did you feel like I left any Disney films that you personally feel like should be remade? And with that said, what are some Disney films that you would like to see remade? Comment below, let me know, and Disney Week is on its way. So many great videos I have for you guys. I cannot wait for you all to see them. So stay tuned, more Disney Week videos on their way. And as always, if you would like to see more videos on this channel, be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below, like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm 21 Second, the Disney lover known as the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.